Hi y'all, Agent here, and we are going to do a railing video on Vanguards End. It's the newest map as of the posting of this video, and it is actually pretty difficult to play a rail traditionally on this map. The main things that are going to get you on this map are a lot of medium to close quarters combat is forced, and you've also got an issue where the changes in elevation, unless you're playing a mech and your bot is elevated, those changes in elevation are going to block your shots a lot. Like, for instance, this build I'm playing now, it's an art bot. I've had it for quite a while. It used to be a plasma build, but I decided to try something different. It didn't have an EMP on it when I first built it, but now it's got EMP, blink, and a power module. And I thought, hey, why not try putting some rails on this thing? It's a fairly decent build for a cruiser. Cruisers have a lot of their own problems, but that said, the strength of rails is what I just did there, is shooting off weapons and movement parts. Typically, the old way, and we're shooting this guy's shotguns off again. I'm trying to save my ally, but I didn't quite make it. Typically, with rails, you would hang back at long to medium range at closest and snip off the weapons and movement parts of enemy builds. You would shoot aircraft. This map makes it a lot more difficult to play that way. Like I said, you've got a lot of obstructions in the way. You've got new flak, which on any map now forces flyers to fly lower and play smarter, which means they're not in your field of view either. And you just got these changes in elevation. Like, I can't sit back here and shoot bots on the other side of the map because of that little rise. My low profile stops me from doing that. I can't do that. So I have to get in there as a rail and actually get in the thick of it and get fairly close to these enemies before I can actually be effective. And it's almost like this map was designed to be anti-rail. I'm not saying that's what the developers did, but it is very difficult to be a low-profile rail build on this map. You don't have the lines of sight that you need to be effective at killing enemies at the ranges where rails are best used. Obviously, they're best used as a sniper rifle, and in most games, except maybe Call of Duty, you don't go running around right in the middle of everything with the sniper rifle. You're hanging back and you're picking off priority targets like medics and maybe tanks after they've been damaged. They're helping support your team and taking out tanks. Well, this map forces a different style of play. As you can see, I've got to get right up in the middle of things, and I'm not able to always use rails for their biggest pro of shooting off weapons and movement. It's going to be very difficult. You need to be a very experienced railer if you're going to do the things that you're seeing me do in some cases here, which is snipping off the weapons of enemy bots on the fly as they move and as you move. Rails are no longer hit scan. The projectile is a very fast projectile, but it is still very difficult to land these very, very precise shots with rails when everything's moving. It's all very close. You're moving, they're moving. It is a lot more difficult than I make it look sometimes. So luckily my team came to help me. I kind of messed up and put one shot right dead center in the center mass of that enemy instead of aiming for his guns, but I was kind of panicking. So I'm going to try to move in and help this guy by shooting the enemy's guns off. He's got another small shotgun on the other side that I can't see, so I'm trying to circle around and get that angle I need. I can't tell if I saved my ally or not, but he did get destroyed with the help from the rest of my team. So I'm going to punish this aircraft for flying high. Like I said earlier, you're not going to see that as often as you used to. This map has a lot of cover from one side of the map to the other for aircraft to use against you to play peekaboo, and just the new flak and even the old flak kind of it stops enemy aircraft who know what they're doing from flying like that. They're not just going to hang around in the wide open. So the role of rails is changing with the game, and I expect this new update coming out this week. We've got the Fast and Formidable update, looking to drop on Thursday, I believe. That's really going to shake the game up. This video will probably still be up to date. It's going to change the way we build our bots, and it's going to change. We're probably going to see a lot more modules in use, but it's not going to change the way that Rails get played by any means. The developers were talking about reworking all of the older maps to be more like this one, with the cover and the different places to go. And don't get me wrong, this is a really well put together map, but it makes combat for certain types of builds very difficult. And I've had matches on this map where I've kind of thought that the obstruction helps air more than it helps ground bots. Some of the strafe drones that you'll see out there, they're able to pop in and out of the cover overhead and use it more effectively against you and hitting you with plasma. And you can't deal as much damage to them as quickly, especially with the new flak. It takes several hits to start ramping up damage and getting that really punishing damage dealt. And your lock-ons take a lot of time, and Rails just don't pack the punch you need to be able to dish out the same kind of damage to them as they can deal to you before they disappear again. So this map, and all the maps in general, are going to promote a very different playstyle with Rails. No longer is it going to be okay to slap them on a set of walker legs and hang way back across the map from everything and snipe, waiting for enemies to come into your view. Now, I never did play like that. I never liked that kind of play. And long ago, before they even removed the accuracy penalty, I've got some videos out there where I was playing a rail that just got out there and brawled with everybody, not only on cruisers but on tanks. So I've been doing this play style even when it wasn't optimal, but now it actually works a lot better, and you're forced into it with the fact that this map is designed the way it's designed. So luckily for me, I've been playing Rails pretty passionately since Rails came into play, since they've ever existed. And I may make some things look easy, like how I'm just driving around circling enemies, hip firing their guns and parts off. It's not as easy as it looks. Even though they're not hit scan and their projectiles move really fast, being just one pixel off means you're going to miss a critical shot. Especially on this new map, you really need to be good, and I don't suggest trying to go out there and play like this right out of the gate as your first experience with Rails, because this new update, Fast and Formidable, is also going to give all players 2,000 CPU to start. So you may see a lot of newer players in your top tier battle arena matches, and that's because all tiers are now top tier battle arena matches. Well, you're going to see a lot of new railers, and I don't suggest slapping a set of rails on your build and thinking you're just going to go out here and do this. Unless you've already got experience, it's probably not going to work out for you. Especially with the new play style, I guess, of Rails, which is moving around a lot and adjusting your position. It's the way they have to be played now to be effective, especially on this new map. I don't expect the reworks of the existing maps to be any different. So I thought this guy was coming after me, and I started to run, and it turns out he wants this tower, so I'm going to shoot his weapons off and defend that tower. That is the best way to defend a tower, is Rails. If you notice, I missed a shot, and my little dot was on the guy's gun, but I clicked the fire button too soon. That's another part of what makes Rails difficult to play like this, is that there's no indicator that tells you when you're ready to fire another shot, and if you click the button too soon, you'll have an accuracy penalty. I don't really think that's fair. I don't think it has a place in this game anymore, especially with the maps turning out like this one. The fast-paced, closer quarters nature of combat It's just another handicap that rails just don't need at this point. Pretty much every weapon is going to do better in terms of damage than rail, and you're going to see me top score and top damage a lot with rails, but that's not the case with your average player. So that accuracy penalty when you click the button a little too soon really needs to go, and it's especially pronounced when you're missing weapons because your fire rate decreases. So the time that it takes to be ready to fire another shot at full accuracy increases, and that means that you're going to need to adjust your rhythm to go along with that. So like I said, I think that mechanic is old, and it needs to be removed to put it closer to being on par with all of these other weapons, especially things like chain shredders and shotguns. They're extremely effective on maps like this, and it's really not a handicap that rails need to have. So there you have it. We hung out with our team a lot. We moved around. We played a fast-paced, pretty much always in motion rail. We got right out there with the team. We did top damage, number 2 score. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.